Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Do More with Less by Orbital X. We're speaking to the world's greatest business leaders to hear and share strategic plans, tactical tips, and on-the-ground war stories of individuals fighting to work out how to do more with less. Today I'm talking to Claire Ward, Chief Innovation Officer at leading business transformation and global outsourcing provider SPS. Now, I knew of Claire back in the early 2000s when she was running some of the world's largest newspaper titles. She was Global Commercial Director of the Financial Times and then a Managing Director at Associated Newspapers, which of course owns the UK's Daily Mail. Now at SPS, she sits on the global senior leadership team focusing on digital transformation, workplace enablement, leading partnerships, marketing, innovation. Claire, welcome. It sounds exhausting.
It is. And listening back to that, I'm thinking, is that really me? And is that the journey I've been on? But yes, it's lovely to be here, and thank you for the kind invitation to join you, Mark.
What I'm wondering, though, is now AI feels like it's come and stuck its foot into every single one of our worlds. And I can't help but think maybe that there are senior or boardroom clients that you may have or that you may know who might be tempted to see AI as little more than a cost saving with which their teams can do more with less. So that's less about modernization, less about process, less about improving, streamlining, making more effective and efficient. It's just about seeing things go quicker and easier without headcount. Is that something that you're contending with?
Yes and no. Quicker and easier. Quicker and easier. That's effectiveness. So, if I think to what a customer's trying to do, they're either trying to hyperscale, or they are trying to cut costs. But it's all about business. To me, it's about business value, delivering value for the customer. So if I think about AI is just another tool. I mean, you and I were both around when, I can remember the first presentation I got about the internet and .com, and that was in 1992 when I was sitting at the Oxford Mail running their recruitment advertising desk, and I couldn't get my head around it. But it was another channel. It was another tool by which organisations would do business. We're now there with AI, and AI is only going to be as good as the data and the information within the business and the business processes that organisations have, and then the infrastructure, the technical infrastructure that they've got to be able to run these large language models or these agentic platforms on. So you can't just throw an AI model or an AI tool at a part of the business and expect it to perform better. There's a number of things that need to take place. First of all, there needs to be the level of training, understanding and capability within the organisation to take advantage of AI. And often we find that companies are coming to us because we have that insight within the business. We understand how AI works. We've been using robotic augmented tools for years. We've been using optical character recognition softwares for a very, very long time, for probably almost 20 years. So automation is something that we know and understand. And so for us, AI was a natural progression. So we have lots of people who are quite smart, who are very smart, who understand how those technologies can be deployed. So I would say that companies come to us because they need to do more with less. So if I think of our own internal organisation, we've got it widely deployed across certainly our solution design teams, across our bid management teams, across our marketing teams. We're using it in procurement. We're using it in finance. And what it's allowing us to do is to get through things quicker. So therefore, we're more effective. It's easier for people to be able to do their jobs. I talk a lot on the circuit around the effectiveness in the workplace, and most of the feedback that comes from employees is that just help me make my life easier, help me do my job easier and quicker, give me the tools that allow me to do my best work. Often, if you look at productivity in the UK over time, from 1997, it's declined. And I was having this debate with a senior leader actually, who was saying, what I don't understand is we've brought more technology into the workplace, yet we're less efficient. And I said, no, what? You're less effective. I said, when you and I started work, we didn't have PCs on our desk. All right. Whereas now we're drowning in emails, we're drowning in Slack messages, we're drowning in Teams messages, we're on Zoom calls, we're on Teams calls. And what we're doing is we've no longer carved out the space and the time to actually do our work and be effective. So
Is that being recognised around the world? Is that being? I've heard it. I've seen it. I'm reading books about it, and I see it on brilliant social media channels. But is it actually being adopted and recognised as a thing by some of the really the world's big companies that you see day to day? Because I don't know if it is.
Well,
I still think there's a few years of installing new tech.
of course, but it's independent. What they're doing is installing new tech at their point solutions, all right? So they're installing tech to solve a single problem as opposed to an end-to-end process, all right? So this is why, SBS is growing exponentially. We've had 12% annual growth consistently over the last, certainly 5 or 6 years since I've been in the business. And look,
Must be all you.
it's all me, darling. It's coincidence, I think. But what's tending to happen is organisations are outsourcing the non-core critical stuff to organisations like us because we love admin. We are the fixers within an organisation. So we've got a contract that's now up and running for one of the big four, and we've got 250 people on site at that organisation.
Permanently embedded.
Permanently. And they're doing everything from the front door, as in the welcome desk reception, through to what we've called connectors. And these are individuals within the business that are connecting all the different services. They're fixers, they're problem solvers. And what it's done is it's delivering the service for less money, but it's speeding up the time it takes to get jobs done. And therefore, it's a much better experience for said organisation's employees, a better experience for the visitors that are coming into the business, and a better experience for contractors that are on site. All right, so that's the effectiveness. So what tends to happen is if you, I guess this goes back to process. What we've done is we've introduced complexity, variation, duplication in the way to get a job done. All right, so people are exhausted. Individuals are exhausted. You think back to any of your listeners now, be thinking, gosh, I go into work, I switch my PC on, I've got a clear idea about what I'm going to do today. Then all of a sudden, I get a curveball. The handbrake goes on, right? And it's how do you remove the friction from people's day-to-day work? Now, often, let's do a little day in the life of me coming into the office. I've got Mark coming in to see me for a meeting. So I need to book him in as a visitor. I need to book a meeting room. It's going to be a working lunch. So I've then got to organise some sandwiches for him because he's come all the way down from Yorkshire to see me in London. I then need to make sure that my presentation is ready and set to go, which probably requires some AV support, maybe because I'm a bit of a nonce and I don't know how to set it up. So I need some support from that side. And then actually, I'd like him to be able to take away a hard copy, believe it or not, of something that we've worked on together. So maybe there's some print involved. All of that requires coordination. And what organisations have been very good is outsourcing to me the self-serve aspect. Well, there's an app for you to book the room. There's an app for you to register your visitor. There's an app for you to organise the sandwiches. Oh, and by the way, there's an app for you to organise your print. And if you've got a problem with the AV, you press another button and a person might arrive, if you're lucky, that's going to fix it for you. Now, me as potentially a highly paid executive, all right, I've wasted a big chunk of my day on frustrations and frictions that are stopping me from negotiating with you and doing some great work on how we're actually going to go and win a new client.
Yeah. It's really funny because what you're talking about is less tech and more this outsourcing mentality, which isn't just about outsourcing. It's a focus on getting the jobs done that you really need to do that are of value, right? And we're an outsource, like our best clients are outsourced mentality companies of themselves because we offer 15 or 16 marketing skill sets for the price of one because we know what's happening to marketing teams and we know that one or two people can't do everything that they're being demanded of and do more with less. So we make sure that they're covered in order for them to do the big stuff. And it really resonates. I go and work at a work a sort of shared workspace down the road sometimes 2 or 3 days a week to get out of the house. And every time I buy a great cup of coffee from the cafe that's superb, the person serving me is always puzzled. She keeps saying, Mark, you're the only one that's not on the app. Why don't you just use the app? It's like, I don't need another app on my phone or in my life, or I just don't need it. I'm more than happy just to come and say hello to you and grab a cup of coffee. I'm looking for less tech sometimes.
Exactly. And this is the problem. Tech firms are fabulous, are gold medalists in selling tech. All right. And we as organizations love it because it makes us feel modern. It makes us feel, but actually, I mean, I did my if you like, my MBA back in 2000, and it was all around it was all around innovation.com innovation back then. And I remember having a debate with somebody at Columbia, because that's where I did it, saying, unless it adds value to me, why on earth am I going to take the time to use a digital tool when actually the old-fashioned way or the traditional way is better? And that eventually took me down the jobs to be done theory. So I'm a massive jobs to be done theorist. I love it. And all of our solution design and design thinking is embedded in the job to be done. And that is...
Do you want to just tell our listeners what jobs to be done is all about?
In simple terms, the job to be done never changes over time. Right. The outcome's always the same, but the way that we get there changes. And when it's done properly, it adds value to my life, and it drives efficiency, and it drives, more importantly, effectiveness. And it has an emotional driver, it has a psychological or social driver, and it has an economic driver. Those are usually the three reasons why somebody is coming to you or to hire you for a service or a job. And it's a simple theory, and it works every time. And a lovely example is if Henry Ford had asked people what they wanted, they'd have said, we want faster horses. And you went, no, you just want to get from A to B quickly, so I'm going to build a motor car. And it's that real motivation of understanding, So for Mark, when he goes to buy a coffee, he wants social interaction, he wants engagement, it's part of an experience for him. Drinking the coffee is the means to the end, but it's really understanding that. But we're going to go off down another rabbit hole here. But fundamentally, the idea of digital transformation. Digital it's a red herring. Transformation comes when you look at, this is where I'm starting, this is where I want to go. What's the outcome, and what tools do I have at my disposal that are going to help me get there? If it's not done properly, all you're going to do is you're going to push the bottleneck or the problem further down the line. And that's what technology often does if we're not careful. It just moves the problem, or it amplifies what's broken underneath it.
Do you think that younger generations coming through have as much access to some of the different thinking that maybe our generation does, having gone from where we were and had to adopt all this technology and make ourselves useful?
That's a lot to unpack there, but your original question was, do I think that the young people today have access to this type of thinking? And the answer is yes, they do have access to it. It's whether or not they choose to actually find it or engage with it. And, people like you and I have a responsibility when we're in the workplace to be able to help colleagues on that journey. So, a big part of what I do and what I really love doing at work is mentoring. And also, I have a fantastic team, but I will challenge the team, and we have a very open and an engaging way of working. It's courteous, it's compassionate, it is encouraging, and it is supportive. But my job is also to stand out of the way of talent. So when talent is coming through and it's grasped the nettle and it's running, my job is then to move from the front to the back to help support and engage, and actually to create opportunities and environments where those things that we valued that you just described can be experienced. The fact that you worked in a highly competitive, but you weren't competitive, you were, it's an environment. If everybody's agreeing, then nobody's adding value, according to Winston Churchill. So, and that's true. And that's that environment that you and I remember well, because there was less noise outside. But, you've got to remember as well that when we are not subjected to those external views that we weren't, we can become an echo chamber. So there is value in the external noise, but it's knowing how to filter it and how to trust it. And that's why I still read the FT every day, because somebody else has edited the news for me. I don't have to go through a Twitter feed. I love the fact that an editor and a news editor has gone, no, that's important, that's important, that's important. They've done the hard work for me. So, I do feel that it's people of different generations have something to bring to the party, but you have to be generous. You have to be generous, and you've got to let your egos step out of the way.
And one of the really jaw-dropping things I heard was the disadvantage potentially that's already being forecast for women when it comes to access to AI and use of AI and learning and training in AI. And before that, I'd been thinking about the potential inequality of opportunity in terms of, say, demographics or regional or whatever. It hadn't even struck me that there were some stats shown it from some recent studies that said almost as per usual that men are already in an advantageous position and that there's a great need for such groups supporting and mentoring women. Tell me about some of the work you're doing.
Okay, so very quickly, what do I do to support women? So at SPS, we have a very active network. So we call it SWAN. It's the SPS Alliance for Women in the business. And I'm the executive sponsor for that. We have a fabulous chair, Helen Vicky. And we have introduced, and I'm I'm a bit of a witch on a stick with this. I'm determined to see two things happen. One is the advancement for women from an economic perspective, that's pay. And the second is from an authoritative decision making, and that's position. Yeah. So the further up the business you are, the more authority, or not so much authority, but the more influence you have within an organisation. So I want to see women in positions of influence and to see them financially rewarded. And that can only happen is if we really support their development. We help. So it's confidence is the first thing. Development, as in smarts and training, is the second. And third is opportunity. So I am finding opportunities all over the business for women to lead projects or to have an opportunity to lead conversations or debates. And we've got some fabulous allies in our organisation, men. And it's moving brilliantly well. We're starting to see more women come up through the ranks. So that's what I'm doing internally. We also have introduced something called sponsorship, where we get women sponsored in the business. And obviously there's the obvious one, mentoring. What struck me about the AI conversation is it's unsurprising, because what AI is doing is it's removing swathes of administrative type roles. So if I think within the legal sector, you look at any kind of pre-contract work or any of the non-legal type contract review work, it's all been done by AI. And most of the people doing those roles were women. Yeah. Secretarial work, again, you talk about there's an app for this, there's an app for that. We don't need PAs, we don't need EAs, we don't need people to organise our own diaries, and those roles are going. All right. Yeah. So it's not surprising. So what we've got to do is we have to move women into more of the senior decision-making, creative, strategic type roles, and out of the I guess processing admin type roles. Then you look at women who are in unskilled roles because they choose to take time out to have families. They're working in shops, they're working in restaurants, they're working in hospitality. Again, those roles are changing over time. So I think it's a numbers game to start with. What are we doing to combat that at SPS? So about 3 years ago, I went on this TQ journey. And by TQ, I mean technical quotient. So we talk about IQ and we talk about EQ. Yeah. I have this real issue with SPS that said our TQ is really low, which is understandable because we're a blue-collar business. Yeah. We came from mailrooms, and now we're taking people onto the floors. So we need to up the TQ across our organisation. So we started with Tech Academy, and we started working with providers to upskill. So we have thousands of Lean Six Sigma practitioners now. We have lots of people who've embarked on the likes of Prince 2, and all of our bid managers are all qualified in that space. But we've now got people doing AI courses. We've got an AI academy internally. Our employee development program has lots of technology-enabled training within that. We've got mandatory training that's focused around technology. So it's about upskilling not just women, but the entire organisation. But by doing that, you're taking the women with you, certainly at the lower end of the business. So those are the kind of things that we're doing. Is we're upskilling, we're giving people exposure. We are all of the projects that we give people to do around training and development have got some kind of AI bend to them as well. We haven't gone as far as the likes of Accenture that says if you don't start taking AI seriously, you're going to get fired. We're not doing any of that, and nor would we ever, to be very, very clear. But we are very clearly embarking on this AI journey as an entire organisation. But I guess the real challenge isn't necessarily the people at the bottom and the middle of the business. It's actually on the leadership team. And interestingly, we did some research. I got the team to do some research, global research, actually, looking at the workplace, and we wanted to look at AI adoption. And we're into the second year of the survey, and AI is becoming much more widely adopted within organisations. But there were two things that were really, really interesting for me. And it was the people at the top of the business felt more comfortable about using AI at work. And that transpires by, well, the older you are, the more senior you are, the more confident you are that you're not going to get into trouble for doing something and you're confident to play around with something.
The more time.
But what was really stark was that the more junior people, what they wanted was policy and guideline. They wanted a real framework to know what they could use AI for, what they couldn't use it for, which AI tools they could use. Had they got their own private cloud with a containered LLM in it that they could throw anything at? They wanted guidance. In their private lives, young people are using AI all the time. But in the workplace, they were frightened, what's going to get me fired? Because of the unknown. So there was this real disconnect between those at the bottom and the middle of the organisation who should probably be using AI all the time to remove some of those handbrakes and the friction and the things that are stopping me doing my best work, compared to the people at the top of the business who are less, let's be honest, the more senior people are in the business, the less doing they do. They do a lot more talking, they do a lot more strategizing, they do a lot more co-work and networking, but actually doing the do, that's that squeezed middle that really do need the help and the support when it comes to these new technologies and how they can apply them at work.
It's funny, while you were talking, I was just thinking, we've had a lot of conversations that have included the thought that AI won't do the jobs and create new economies and reinvent work on its own. It needs the people trained and developed. But I'm thinking a little bit, with what you've just said, I'm just thinking a little bit more granular. It's almost like, as Chief Innovation Officer, for example, you've got the responsibility to try and figure out the next steps of the future for SPS to keep going down. That includes everything from understanding how AI can remove certain jobs and give other opportunities to new people, but also just things like how to, yourselves and advice to others, how to think differently now, more than you ever have, quicker than you ever have before, on the attitude to women taking time out and to go and have families and coming back to senior roles, and how AI adoption works. Because, like you said, I feel like I'm allowed and encouraged by work to do anything with AI. Like I can, across the LLMs, and experimenting how to use it for everything from writing to getting the admin work, which I've always been terribly shit at, right? So, but the actual thing is, how do we make everybody AI literate so that you can remain a force for your clients in advising on best transformation? Because that stuff must have been affected now. Like, you must be in a situation where yesterday's advice, if you like, isn't quite updated enough. There's now new options and opportunities, I guess.
It's really interesting. So, and I think I have the easiest job in the world because of the mindset. So for me, innovation is not invention. It's not inventing new things. It's actually, it's often it's the art of the possible. So I always start with outcome driven innovation. And that's really understanding, again, what's the customer trying to achieve? It's not what problem am I trying to solve, but what's the ambition? What are you trying to achieve? So if you were to fast forward, visualize yourself in 3 years' time, what does it look like? And once you can capture that, we will be an organization that does this. Somebody said to me, Claire, in this new world, what does the most successful what does a successful law firm look like to you in the future? And I said, it's the one that's winning the most deals. It's the one that's attracting the best talent. It's the one that everybody wants to work for. And it's the one that everybody wants to hire. And they went, oh, yeah.
Yeah, same as today.
Yeah. So exactly. So what we do is we work backwards. So what's stopping you from being there? So what's stopping you from attracting the best talent? What's stopping you from delivering the best? Do you see what I'm saying? So you kind of always working backwards. So it's trying to hold on to that mindset. And then it just so happens that AI is another tool that's going to allow me to drive effectiveness, efficiency, and deliver the end goal. And so we don't give advice. What we do is we unlock the power of possibility and we solve problems. All right. And we use whatever tools we can find and whatever clever brains we have in our business to help us do that. And the clever brains bit is on us to keep people trained and to keep people abreast of technologies or thinking or methodologies or approaches, because it's not always technology. It's a method or a thinking or a way of
a model.
Like I've just talked about the job to be done theory. That might be new to some of your listeners. It's staying abreast of all of these things. And as people leave the business, people tend to stay with SPS forever, but they do eventually retire. And as we bring new talent in, you're bringing fresh thinking. And it's that constant, but allowing, young voices to have a voice and not be drowned out by the old school.
That's great. Do more with less is often very, very, very strategic and high level. And just as often it's very practical and on the ground tips. And it feels to me like AI could be something that we all see as the perfect do more with less magic wand, but I still think there's a little while yet, maybe months, of businesses flapping around here and there, trying to find the right use for AI, and therefore...
Right, I've got to stop you there. You've got to work out what it is you're trying to do.
There you go.
All right, once you've worked out what it is you're trying to do, the rest works itself out.
Yeah. So that's the do more with less bit. The understanding where it is you're trying to go. Claire, it's been an absolute pleasure to spend this time with you, and thank you for joining us. And hope to see you soon.
Good, and I wish you all the very best with your podcast, and to all your listeners, I hope you found that useful. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.